Part 87. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 861. Chapter 861. The transmission channel is broken. A clever girl. Ming-Chi smiled fondly, but there was something ready-made for him to take, which saved his time. Wouldn't it be better to use the mining time to refine weapons? After Yuan asked Minky to drink tea, she came to the practice room, collected all the space rings of the demon cultivators from the boundary door, and then waited in the space for the outer defense shield to open. I believe that the defensive shield will be open soon. Sure enough, after a while, a demon cultivator found that his space ring had disappeared inexplicably. He shouted, and other demon cultivators immediately discovered it, and everyone was shocked. They didn't realize how their space ring disappeared. What's wrong? It's full of mind ore. The demon cultivators panicked. Go and report it to the mine manager quickly. This matter cannot be misunderstood. Someone reacted and shouted. After hearing this, all the demon cultivators ran toward the entrance of the mine to tell the mine head about the situation here. The mine head is recording the ore collected today, and he doesn't know that his space ring has been stolen. Seeing the demon cultivators suddenly pouring out, he flew over and stopped them. What are you doing, not mining properly? Boss, all of our space rings have disappeared out of thin air. Please tell the Lord Demon God about this quickly. The first demon cultivator who came out panted and said to the mine head. The mine head asked in disbelief, what did you say? I didn't hear it clearly. Can you say it again? People who came out from behind said, Boss, our space ring disappeared out of thin air. Quickly see if yours is still there. The mine manager was sure that he had heard correctly, and then he came back to his senses and touched his fingers. Sure enough, his fingers were empty, and he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. How is this going? The mine head was horrified. He was so anxious that he was counting today's quantity and preparing to go out to deliver the ore, but all of a sudden there was no more. What should he do? The mine head who was managing the mine with him just now asked him to hand over these ores as soon as possible. He was just sorting out the quantity to see how much it was, but he didn't want this to happen suddenly. If he had known better, he would not have counted it and asked him to take it with him when he went out. Gone. The miner took it away, and if it was lost, it was in his hands, not in his hands, and he has no responsibility. The mine manager regretted it so much that he wanted to kill him. Looking at the chirping demon cultivator, he said angrily, you go back and continue digging to see if it will disappear. I will go out and report to the demon immediately. The demon cultivators nodded. They did not dare to disobey the mine head's order. Anyway, they reported the matter to the mine head. Moreover, the mine head's space ring was also missing, so they had no responsibility. Moreover, if you punish everyone, you will lose everyone's belongings together, so you can't punish them all. The demon cultivators all left. The mine leader looked at the defensive shield and thought that the defensive shield was of no use. The ore was not lost like it was 10,000 years ago. Such a complaint in his heart, he quickly opened the defensive shield and immediately stepped out. At the same time, Yuan saw the opportunity and returned to the 5-pivot realm through the realm gate. In Minky's palace, Yuan moved Minky out and left half of the mutated ore for him. The ores were enough, and he was also given a magic weapon from a magic cultivator to study on his own. Great-grandfather, you have refined the defensive artifact. After you arrange it, just leave a gap in your palace for me to come and go, Yuan told Ming-Chi before leaving, otherwise he will not be able to return through the boundary gate in the future. In the Wuxia realm, you have to go to the outer battlefield to sit in the teleportation array. It's troublesome and time-consuming. Ming-Chi was feeling happy at the moment. He didn't go so smoothly this time. This was the girl's credit. When he heard what Yuan said, he nodded repeatedly, girl, don't worry. Girl, this requirement must be met. He has seen a defensive shield made of mutated ore. If you don't use force to break in, you really can't break through it. This thing is better than the girl's star array. As long as this thing is touched by that breath, no matter who it is, it will be poisoned to death. This thing is best for dealing with mutated creatures. Yuan bid farewell to Ming Qi and came to the battlefield outside the territory. From here, she wanted to make a teleportation array to the Tongxian realm. I haven't seen Mujukan and his son for so long, and I don't even know how they are doing. After Yuan arrived, she found the guard here. After handing over the sacred stone, the guard opened the formation for her. As soon as the formation was opened, Yuan stepped in. Not long after entering, Yuan suddenly felt the transmission channel vibrating violently. Yuan was surprised. The transmission channel was in the starry sky. Could there be someone fighting in the starry sky? Just when Yuan was about to step into the space to take a look, the transmission channel suddenly shook violently, followed by a loud bang, and the transmission channel was broken. As soon as the transmission channel was broken, the violent wind poured into the channel wantonly, breaking the channel, and Yuan instantly fell into the starry sky. Yuan's strength was not enough to compete with the strong wind in the starry sky, causing her to fly everywhere like a fallen leaf. The howling wind struck Yuan, knocking her out several times. Woke up again, Yuan found that she was in a dark place. No matter where this is, immediately check the injuries on the body. The body is protected by the divine clothing, and the divine clothing has also been cut to pieces. A lot of the flesh on the body is missing, leaving only dense white bones. Fortunately, the soul was not injured. Yuan immediately took out the healing pill from the space and swallowed it. After recovering from the injury caused by meditation, she changed into another divine robe and then looked at the place. There is no doubt that this is a useless star. It is bare and has no hair. Yuan has seen many such useless stars before, but this useless star does not have much gravity, so she did not fall into a pulp when she fell here. Yuan was very curious and flew up to check with her spiritual sense. Huh, that's it? In the distance, a huge skeleton lay on the ground. Yuan Fei took a closer look and said, "How does this look like a little snake?" The skeleton has been weathered due to age, but it can be seen that it is the skeleton of a soaring snake. Yuan immediately moved the little snake out. Until now, the little snake had no idea where it came from. It had followed her to countless worlds, but it was not his birthplace. This place might be able to solve his doubts. "Master, where is this?" The little snake looked at the skeleton and asked blankly. "I don't know. I was also teleporting. I encountered someone fighting in the starry sky, which destroyed the teleportation channel. I fell into the starry sky and fainted. When I woke up, I saw this. This may be useful to you," Yuan said. The little snake stepped forward and reached out to touch the skeleton. A familiar aura hit him, and an uncomfortable emotion surged into the little snake's heart. After a long time, the little snake sniffed and used his hands to exert a magical force to lift the entire skeleton and lift it off the ground. He watched carefully. Suddenly, the little snake waved his hand, and something as big as a fist floated out of the skeleton. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 862. Chapter 862 Graveyard. Pinched the little snake, closed his eyes, and entered the inner alchemy with his spiritual consciousness. As he expected, scenes flashed through it, but unfortunately not many. Yuan was watching from the side, not knowing what the little snake was looking at, but seeing the pained expression on his face, Yuan guessed that there was probably a part of the memory sealed in the inner elixir, and the little snake must be looking at those memories. Of course the memories sealed there are definitely not good. The little snake finished reading quickly and opened his eyes. "Master," the little snake shouted, with tears streaming down his face. Yuan patted him. "What? Do you want to put this corpse away? The little snake shook his head. He pulled Yuan up and flew in another direction. Soon after, he found another skeleton. He took out the inner elixir in the same way, and then entered with his spiritual consciousness. In this way, Little Snake found a total of 12 corpses on this abandoned star, and never found them again. After that, the little snake sat on the ground and cried like a child for a long time. Then he said, "Master, I finally know where I come from. It's this waste star heart. This planet was originally called Endless Continent. Endless Continent, it's very big. There are all kinds of mythical beasts and humans living here. They also died in that catastrophe. When that catastrophe came, my parents used their last strength to send me out of this continent before falling to the mortal realm where we met." The little snake finished speaking in one breath and then sobbed softly. Yuan patted him gently. No wonder his memory fragments found many places that were not the place where he was born. It turned out to be here. It's no wonder that the little snake has never survived the disaster. It turns out that his strength has reached its highest level. As for why the little snake has not recovered his memory so far, Yuan believes that the reason why the little snake was too seriously injured at the time was that his soul was damaged. In that case, it is very possible that the soul is damaged and cannot recover its memory. It's good to be able to save one life. Yuan took a look at the skeleton and sighed at how powerful Tang Snake was. Under such circumstances, it could still preserve the corpse and inner elixir, while other divine beasts could not preserve anything. It's just that it's been too long, and the inner elixir as big as a gong is only as small as a fist. The little snake cried for a long time before saying, "Master, let's go. Let's go. Leave those bones alone and let them die in the wilderness." Yuan was surprised, thinking that the little snake had to collect or bury those corpses no matter what. The little snake shook his head. "They are not corpses in the wilderness, but they buried themselves here before they died. This is their tomb, we don't want to touch them." The little snake looked at the corpses. It was a pity that there were no corpses of his parents. They might have disappeared into ashes after sending him away. After all, it consumes divine power. Once the divine power is exhausted, there will still be strength to protect oneself. He also saw part of the picture in those inner alchemy, when the power swept across the entire continent like a violent storm. The plants, buildings, low-strength people and animals on the continent were instantly reduced to nothing. Only a few powerful races supported it for a while, and it didn't last long. Except for a dozen powerful people from the Tengshi clan who preserved the corpses, they all turned into nothing in the end. The little snake felt really sad when he thought about his parents' bodies. Yuan nodded, "Okay. Anyway, what the little snake said was what it said," and then she put the little snake into the space. Yuan flew around the waste star for a circle. After confirming that there was nothing that could be used, she also entered the space and returned to the 5-axis realm. This experience was not in vain, and I actually found the root of the little snake. Yuan took a look at the little snake who was listless in the space, and called Xiaoqing and Dehei to comfort him. After following her for so long, she couldn't bear to see him feel uncomfortable. The teleportation array to the Tongxian realm was broken, so Yuan had to wait for it to be rebuilt before going there, and had no choice but to practice in the space. This wait lasted for 1,000 years. After 1,000 years, the defensive artifact of the Wuxia realm was successfully refined. When she came out, the Wuxia realm was already shrouded in a defensive shield. Same as Tongxuanja. Yuan once again took the teleportation array to an unexpected battlefield. The teleportation array happened to have been built, so she made a new teleportation array to the Tongxian realm. There was no accident this time, and he came to Tongxian realm smoothly, and then found Mujukan. Mujukan was in retreat in his demon suppression tower, and Yuan went to find Liangbao and Yu Heiran. He saw that they were all well and their cultivation levels had improved to varying degrees. Yuan was relieved. Suddenly, Yuan felt as if she was being stared at by something. She immediately dodged and tried to enter the space, but she couldn't move at all. Yuan's back felt numb, and her heart was in turmoil. The world-destroying Qinglian Yuan smiled bitterly in her heart. She was careless and forgot what the pure world Qinglian warned her before. This barrier can block mutated creatures, but it cannot stop him. This is something he created in the first place. Haha, I finally caught you. I had a hard time looking for you. A pleasant male voice sounded in Yuan's ears. Then her eyes darkened and she lost consciousness. When she woke up again, Yuan found that she was sitting on a piece of black lotus petals. She raised her eyes and saw that it was a huge black lotus with 9 petals, and there was a person sitting on each petal. Isn't one of them Yu Zheng? She had her eyes closed at this time, with a slightly painful look on her face. Yuan, the other on the 7 petals, doesn't know any of them, but their expressions are exactly the same as Yu Zheng's. Don't be distracted when I ask you to let us out later, let us go immediately. Suddenly, the voice of Jingxi Qinglian came to Yuan's ears. Yuan was startled. Is this the home of the world-destroying Qinglian? Yes, don't be discouraged. Don't let that black-hearted man find out. Our strength has not yet returned to his level. Be careful of being discovered by him. We have to break his restriction on you, Jingxi Qinglian said. Good. Yuan breathed a sigh of relief. She still didn't raise these 2 foodies in vain, and she still wouldn't let her die at the critical moment. As long as the restrictions on her are released, she can escape. Yuan closed her eyes and looked similar to the other 8 people. Not long after, Yuan felt something on her body being absorbed by the black lotus petals. She felt uncomfortable, as if something had been forcefully taken away from her body. Yuan thought to herself, am I just trying to her luck? She wanted to resist this feeling, but she couldn't move, so she could only endure it. I was also anxious, hoping that Jingxi Qinglian and Good Fortune Qinglian would move faster so as not to drain all her luck. Then she is doomed. She has no luck at all alive, let alone walking without falling to death, drinking water without choking to death, or 100% being hacked to death when advancing. Not long after, Yuan felt extremely uncomfortable. Her heart was pounding and her heart was pounding. Yuan bit her lip and endured it. Hold on, we're going to be there soon. Just when Yuan could no longer hold on, Jingxi Qinglian sent a message. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 863. Chapter 863 Destruction of the World Qinglian. Yuan heard the voice and was conscious for a moment, but finally couldn't hold on and fainted. It's so useless. At the moment when she fainted, Yuan heard the voice of creation Qinglian. Yuan really wanted to roll her eyes at him, but unfortunately before she could roll her eyes, she had already fainted. Just when Yuan fainted, 2 rays of light flashed out from her body. As soon as the 2 people came out, they immediately set up a barrier to trap the body of Qinglian. Haha, it's you 2 idiots. I didn't expect that you 2 idiots are actually on this person. It's a pity that you ended up in my hands. When Mixi Qinglian saw the 2 of them, she was overjoyed. She immediately gathered the 9 lotus petals and wrapped them around the 9 people. Her body flashed, revealing a young man in black clothes. The young man looked at the creation green lotus and the pure world green lotus with disdain, with a sneer at the corner of his mouth. You actually people's qi and blood to recover. Jingxi Qinglian was angry at Mixi Qinglian. The 2 came out and saw clearly that except Yuan, the other 8 people's qi and blood were almost sucked dry by Mixi Qinglian. Mixi Qinglian said with an evil smile, do you think that I am like you 2 idiots? There are ready-made human monks who don't use this. I stupidly recover slowly and then wait for you two to recover before sealing me. You have really done a lot of evil. Look at how this star has been destroyed by you. What good will it do to you if you destroy this star? Why do you have to destroy the star? Jingxi Qinglian doesn't understand. They were all conceived together. Why must destroying Qinglian destroy this star? Ha ha ha, Xiao Jingjing, you are still so unbearable and naive. I am the world-destroying Qinglian. Of course I want to destroy the world. Otherwise, why did you give birth to me? Is it good looking? Or is it fun? Mishi Qinglian laughed wildly, her face suddenly darkened and said, my mission is to destroy. After the star is destroyed, I can survive forever, don't you think? The faces of Creation Qinglian and Jingxi Qinglian changed after hearing this, and they were both extremely surprised. They really didn't know that world-destroying Qinglian would be like this. For the sake of his eternal existence, why should he care about others? The two of them sighed. Can't it last forever if it is not destroyed? Jingxi Qinglian still didn't believe it. Mishi Qinglian has always been as cunning as a fox. Could it be nonsense? Why do I want to lie to you? I have a heritage, and this is the inheritance. As for the immortal world, am I waiting for you to purify me? Purify. When Pure World Qinglian heard the key words in Mishi Qinglian's words, she was about to ask when Good Fortune Qinglian sent her a message. Su Jing, today we will destroy him. The Creation Green Lotus sent a message to the Pure World Green Lotus. Only by destroying him, will the two of them repair the star in the future and not be destroyed by the world-destroying Green Lotus again. I'm afraid it won't be easy. Our current strength is far inferior to him. We will definitely not be able to destroy him today. If there is Chaos Qinglian here, with the combined strength of the three of us, it is possible to seal him. The Purifying Green Lotus also transmits messages to the Creation Green Lotus. Zizao Qinglian took a look at this place. This place was on the energy planet. It was not only the home of Qinglian of destruction of the world, but also the home of him and Qingxi of purification. After sealing the world-destroying Qinglian, the chaotic youth's true body has dissipated and scattered on this energy planet and turned into energy. It is not easy to breed the true body again. Moreover, they have been here for so long and have not seen Chaos Qinglian come out, which means that she has not been conceived at all. The world-destroying Green Lotus looked at what the Creation Green Lotus and the Pure World Green Lotus were discussing. He looked at these two people with burning eyes. If he could swallow these two green lotuses, would he recover faster? Seeing these two idiots dying in front of him, still thinking of ways to deal with him, he cursed the two idiots in his heart, and by the time they came up with a solution, the flowers were already cold. Destroying Qinglian curled her lips. The strength of these two idiots was much lower than him. There were only two of them. The three of them had sealed him in their heyday. It would be difficult to attack him today. With a wave of his hand, Mishi Qinglian broke the barriers created by the two idiots and put up his own barrier with a wave of his hand. Then he waved his hands, and two ink-like vines shot toward the Green Lotus of Creation and the Green Lotus of Pure World. The figures of Good Fortune Green Lotus and Pure World Green Lotus flashed, and the two of them worked together to release their divine power, which was enough to entangle the two ink-like vines. At the same time, the two of them immediately transformed into their true bodies, and the purifying Green Lotus immediately released its divine power, shrouding the world-destroying Green Lotus. No matter how powerful the world-destroying Qinglian is, he is still afraid of the divine power of the purifying Qinglian. Her divine power can purify him and is his nemesis. What Qinglian said just now reminded her that if he couldn't be destroyed today, he would have to peel off his skin and destroy him if he wanted. Have you asked her? The shrouded Mishi Qinglian felt trembling in his heart. He didn't expect that this fool's divine power was so pure. He couldn't bear it and felt suffocated. He also immediately transformed into his true form and released his own breath at the same time. The creation Qinglian did not show any weakness. He used his divine power to hit the body of the world-destroying Qinglian. Although it could not cause much damage to him, it could interfere with him and give the purifying Qinglian more opportunities. The three lotus flowers outside were inseparable. Yuan, who was wrapped in the world-destroying green lotus, gradually woke up. She felt that the restraints on her body were no longer there, but she was too weak. With a movement of consciousness, she immediately stepped into the space. Going into the space to check, she was shocked. Half of her energy and blood had been lost. The world-destroying green lotus not only absorbed her luck, but also absorbed her energy and blood. No wonder she fainted. Yuan meditated immediately and recovered. The lost energy and blood could not be replenished overnight. Fortunately, her state did not fall, otherwise it would be worse. She raised her eyes and looked at the fighting scene outside. Good Fortune Qinglian and Jingxi Qinglian were having a hard time dealing with it. She couldn't help at this time, so she could only restore some cultivation as soon as possible. Space-time is 30 times faster than outside. When Yuan recovered to 70%, she stood up. Outside, the bodies of Jingxi Qinglian and Mixi Qinglian were dim. They were by Mixi Qinglian and sucked the essence from them. Qi and blood. Yuan's eyes tightened, she dodged into the red earth, and set up a star formation. She made a bet and brought them all into space. If not, the creation green lotus and the pure world green lotus will be in vain, and everything they have done before has become the wedding dress for the world destruction green lotus. Also keep the soul tree ready at any time. There are so many powerful weapons in space, so you have to take a gamble no matter what. Yuan operated from the boundary door, and her consciousness immediately took in the three green lotuses. Hurry up the soul tree, Yuan immediately ordered the soul tree. When the divine soul tree saw the three green lotuses, it immediately recognized the world-destroying green lotus, and it instantly entangled the world-destroying green lotus. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 864. Chapter 864 Things are changing. At the critical moment, the world-destroying green lotus was entangled by the divine soul tree, and the energy in his body was still being sucked away. He had to let go of the creation green lotus and pure world green lotus, and use all his strength to deal with the divine soul tree. The divine soul tree not only devours the soul but also flesh and blood. In just a few breaths, Mixi Qinglian felt that a lot of his soul was sucked away. However, as soon as he let go, the green lotus of creation and the green lotus of pure world finally got a chance to breathe. At the same time, Yuan asked them to quickly absorb the divine power in the space, which was not enough for her to replenish immediately. The green lotus of good fortune and the green lotus of pure world are not polite at this moment, let them go and absorb them. The two of them took a dozen or so breaths, and the dull lotus leaves became a little shiny. We will take revenge. Creation Qinglian sent a message to Jingxi Qinglian at this time. If we don't take revenge now, let's wait until later. Okay, Jingxi Qinglian responded without hesitation. The two of them didn't expect that the usually inconspicuous divine soul tree could be so ferocious. If they didn't take action, they wouldn't be able to drink the soup. The two people immediately transformed into their true bodies. The emerald green lotus leaves grew instantly, and sharp thorns sprouted out, which suddenly penetrated into the body of the world-destroying Qinglian. The world-destroying Qinglian groaned. He could not take care of the creation Qinglian and the purifying Qinglian, all his energy was put on the divine soul tree. The divine soul tree has been in the space for so many years, and even Yuan doesn't know how powerful it is. At this time, the divine soul tree entangled the world-destroying Qinglian so that he could not move, just like when he imprisoned the 9 Yuan people before. Let the soul tree move. It's true that the tides are turning. The world-destroying Qinglian claims to be the most harmful existence in this interstellar world, but unexpectedly it was planted on this inconspicuous soul tree. The world-destroying Qinglian wanted to die. The thing that made him want to die even more was yet to come. The world-destroying Qinglian had his soul sucked by the divine soul tree, and he felt a little drowsy at this time. In addition, the green lotus of creation and the green lotus of pure world sucked his qi and blood in turn. Attacked from three sides, his body was like a broken bellows, with qi, blood, and luck leaking out uncontrollably. Jingxi Qinglian was overjoyed when she saw it, and hurriedly shouted to Yuan, "Goddess Ziwei, quickly absorb the overflowing luck and blood." Huh, Yuan, who was watching their counter-attack from the side, heard what Jingxi Qinglian said. She couldn't believe it, and hurried to sit next to Mishi Qinglian to absorb it. The world-destroying Qinglian has absorbed her luck and blood, so it would be best if it could be absorbed back. At this time, the wrapped petals of the world-destroying green lotus also spread out. When the 9 petals spread out, there was no one inside, and none of the bones of the 8 people who had been sucked were left. Yuan saw it with her consciousness and was stunned for a moment before continuing to absorb it. Starju was running rapidly. Unexpectedly, Yu Jing died like that. Yuan felt mixed emotions in her heart. I wonder if Yu Jing complained about her at the end of her life? Yuan withdrew her thoughts and started to operate the exercises seriously. Gradually, as expected, Yuan could feel the lost energy and blood returning. She couldn't see luck. Anyway, she only felt that her sea of consciousness felt refreshed, and she felt relaxed and happy, just like the haze in her heart. Sweep away. 1 person, 1 tree, and 2 green lotuses were quickly absorbed, and the bound Mishi Qinglian was really desperate. He looked at this man with a tree and 2 green lotuses in his eyes bitterly, as if he had remembered their appearance firmly. He struggled hard, but no matter how hard he struggled, it was in vain. He couldn't even think of blowing himself up. He closed his eyes in pain and unwillingness. The struggling Mishi Qinglian was less than an hour old, and his body was only the size of a fist. And his body has lost its vitality, which means that his soul is completely gone and he has completely died. The world-destroying Qinglian who was so rampant was destroyed like this. Yuan opened her eyes and looked at the fist-sized world-destroying green lotus in disbelief. She immediately summoned a jade box and placed the body of the world-destroying green lotus in the jade box. Maybe it could be refined into a divine weapon in the future. She looked at the soul tree, the creation green lotus and the pure world green lotus, and saw that they were all practicing their true forms. The space was still filled with rich qi and blood and the energy of the world-destroying green lotus, and Yuan sat in the space and continued to practice. A year later, Yuan had absorbed a lot of energy, blood, and luck, and his cultivation level was slowly rising, and he was about to reach a breakthrough level. This time he has broken through a big realm, and is about to break the shackles and be promoted to the God Emperor. Yuan is still practicing with her eyes closed, and has to refine what she has breathed in. Time flies, and 10,000 years of space and time pass by. Yuan, who was meditating, suddenly opened her eyes and saw that the divine power in her body surged. This is about to break through. She immediately ducked into the practice room. Yuan didn't know whether the laws on the energy planet were complete, and she didn't have time to verify them here. She immediately returned to the outer battlefield from the realm gate, and then returned to the 5-axis realm from the outer battlefield. He found a deserted place and stepped out of the space, set up a star formation, and waited for the thunder disaster. Absorbing a lot of luck and energy, there were no accidents at all during this tribulation, and after the tribulation, her cultivation level was comparable to that of the God Queen. Yuan smacked her lips. This promotion was too fast. She absorbed back her own luck and energy, as well as some from the world-destroying Qinglian. Her cultivation level was promoted so quickly, and she didn't feel unstable at all. If she is absorbed by her alone, then her behavior and cultivation will not directly reach the God Emperor. Thinking that the Divine Soul Tree, Creation Green Lotus and World-Destroying Green Lotus had absorbed so much, Yuan felt a feeling of envy, jealousy, and hatred in her heart. She had no choice but to absorb 3 of them. But being able to absorb one's own energy, blood, and luck, and even more, is a good gain. She is quite content. Yuan immediately stepped into the space to consolidate her cultivation. After she consolidated her cultivation, she entered the red earth. Zhaoxin Qinglian and Jingxi Qinglian have woken up. They have grown from the appearance of teenagers to the appearance of young people in their 20s, which means that they have recovered. Goddess Ziwei, it's all thanks to you this time. Jingxi Qinglian looked at Yuan with a smile and said. The 2 of them had recovered and decided to leave. They originally wanted to leave, but when they saw Yuan consolidating her cultivation, they waited wake her up. They are going to repair this star. I believe that after this separation, they will not have the chance to meet each other. After staying here for so many years and relying on Yuan to recover, to be honest, they are very reluctant to leave Yuan, but they have their responsibilities. Yuan pursed her lips and smiled, thank you to the Soul Tree. If it weren't for it, I would have followed suit. Jingxi Qinglian nodded, well, I have already thanked it. Does the goddess Ziwei have anything else to say to us? Yuan looked at the 2 of them in surprise, are you about to leave? The 2 people nodded at the same time. Jingxi Qinglian said, we have to restore this star immediately. Now it is full of smoke and smoke. It makes me feel sick and panic. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 865. Chapter 865 Finale. Yuan waved her hand, I have nothing to say, I just hope you can repair this star as soon as possible and resolve the crisis, and I will be fine. She really had nothing to say and wished these 2 people would get out of her space as soon as possible. Now that the 2 of them have recovered, her merits can be considered complete. You don't want to evolve your space into an independent world of cultivation? Qinglian, who had never spoken, asked. He really admired this weak goddess. Although she was weak, she was really lucky. They both thought they were going to die at the hands of the world-destroying Qinglian this time, but they didn't expect that she had a big killer weapon. So as long as Yuan likes it and is willing, he doesn't mind helping her. Evolution is now a piece of cake for him. Yuan glanced at the space, and then said calmly, if the price is too high, forget it. This is good. You are really not greedy. Well, let's leave. We will never see you again. The 2 of them cupped their hands towards Yuan and instantly left her space. However, before Yuan noticed, they both waved at the same time. A divine power added a barrier to her space. After the Good Fortune Green Lotus and Pure World Green Lotus left the space, they glanced at the place where Yuan was staying. In the future, even if her space has not been upgraded to an independent cultivation world, it will still be the strongest in this interstellar world. This can be considered a little reward from us, Jingxi Qinglian said. Zai Zhao Qinglian nodded, and the 2 of them turned into 2 streams of light and immediately flew away. Yuan didn't know what Good Fortune Green Lotus and Pure World Green Lotus had done to her space, but she could feel that the space was more stable, so she just smiled. Yuan came to the Divine Soul Tree. The Divine Soul Tree was taller and exuded rich soul power. When he saw her coming, he fired several blasts of soul power into her sea of consciousness. After finishing, he stretched out a branch and rubbed her body. Yuan patted it before it came out of space. She took a deep breath. It felt so magical. It was like such a difficult matter was solved overnight. So unreal. Yuan was in a good mood, flying in the sky against the wind, and flew towards Tiandao section. She did not pass through the boundary gate, and just flew freely in the sky. At the same time, on the energy planet, 2 10-foot tall lotuses stood on it. The green lotus of creation and the green lotus of pure world were slowly rotating their lotus bodies, and streams of aura that could be seen with the naked eye overflowed from the lotus bodies, scattered to various places in the stars. Wherever the power they emit passes, we can see that the waste stars are changing at the speed of the naked eye. The desert is turning into mud, and gradually forming mountains, flowing water, mountains, forests, bamboos, and trees. The changes on this planet will only stop when it is full of vitality and full of strong divine power. This planet has become a habitable planet for animals and plants. Such scenes can be seen everywhere in the stars. I don't know how long it took, but when these two forces came to the demon world, the demonic energy in the demon world was gradually disappearing, and the magic power in the bodies of the demon cultivators was also gradually lost, as if it had been taken away. Seeing such changes, the demon cultivators were extremely frightened. However, when they saw that the mutated creatures outside the barrier were also gradually changing, the fear in their hearts was somewhat relieved. I saw their tentacles retracted and slowly turned back into human form. When they turned back into human form, they were no different from them. The barrier between them also disappeared. Momon cultivators, no, now it should be the ancient God-man who is looking at the ancient God-man on the other side who has recovered his body. The two parties look at the situation and don't know what to say. Have they recovered? Everyone present was overjoyed. The original demon god and the current Lord God stood up. He stood in front of the original mutated king. He said sincerely, "We have recovered. I will return your son in a short while. I hope we will not have another war regardless of the past. Manage our cultivation world well. Even if the son died, he could not be resurrected. Now that they have been restored, the son can still be born in the future." The former mutant king nodded. He is now willing to return his son, so of course he accepts it. Moreover, they have restored their original form and have many things to deal with, so there is no need to waste too much time here. So not long after, the former mutant king took his son and his people back to their planet. There is a lot of waste waiting to be done, but no one is afraid. They have been mutants for so many years and are now able to recover. They seize the time to restore their cultivation world. At this time, when the power spread to the Wuxia realm and the Tongxian realm, the outer defensive shield slowly disappeared, and everyone only felt a strong divine power coming overwhelmingly. Yuan had just come to Tongxian realm from taking the teleportation array on the battlefield outside the territory. She saw the scene just after leaving the teleportation array. She was surprised and immediately flew into the sky, feeling the excitement like other gods. The divine power of life. Other men of God were very surprised. They did not know what was going on. But everyone is still excited and happy. Oh my God, what happened? Revival of divine power. It should be that such a grand occasion is probably caused by the creation of Qinglian, and only the creation of Qinglian has this ability. Ah, is the energy planet repaired? The matter of the energy ball being damaged is not a secret in the Tongxian world, and everyone knows about the attack of mutated creatures. Everyone was even more overjoyed when they heard what the man said. Apart from the recovery of the energy ball, nothing could cause such a scene. There are even many powerful beings who directly tear apart the space to look into the starry sky. Yuan did not expect that the creation Qinglian and the purifying Qinglian would move so quickly. She found a place to sneak into the space. Mujukan did not even look for it, but looked through the realm gate. Yuan couldn't restrain her joy when she saw the new planets. It was indeed repaired. With a flash of consciousness, she came directly from the world gate to the energy planet, and found the green lotus of creation and the green lotus of purification. At this time, the bodies of the creation green lotus and the pure world green lotus have shrunk from 10 feet to 10 feet, and they are still releasing energy continuously. Yuan was very touched. She was shocked by her dedication to the creation of the green lotus and the purifying green lotus. She understands that after the Green Lotus of Creation and the Green Lotus of Pure World release their energy, they will fall into deep sleep and slowly regain their strength. The cycle begins again and again. They will always protect the star. Yuan suddenly felt that it was a great thing for her to help them, and her unhappiness with them disappeared. Yuan did not leave, but sat down cross-legged. After the Green Lotus of Creation and Green Lotus of Purification were completed, she wanted to let them return to her space, and she would raise them again in the future. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 866. Chapter 866 Finale 1. When the bodies of Creation Green Lotus and Pure World Green Lotus were only the size of fists, they stopped releasing energy. However, the color of their bodies was not as dull as that of World Destruction Green Lotus. The situation in Qinglian was several times better. This shows that the two of them just ran out of energy and can slowly recover. Yuan felt relieved, these two guys didn't lie to her. She looked at the energy planet. At this time, the various energies of the energy planet were so rich that they were almost dripping with water. She hesitated for a moment and put the two lotus flowers into the red earth. In fact, staying on the energy planet was better than staying in her space, and it would allow them to recover better. However, it was not as safe as her space, so she hesitated. In the interstellar recovery, there will definitely be a large number of powerful people coming here to check. There is a high possibility that they will be discovered and taken away, so it is better to take her away as she originally intended. After Yuan received the Green Lotus of Creation and the Green Lotus of Pure World, she came to Tongxian Realm from the Realm Gate and found Mujukan. Now that everything has settled and there is no danger, she just wants to live their two-person world with Mujukan and travel around the stars. There are so many new planets, they can still find one to settle down. Yuan's mouth twitched when she looked at Mujukan's cultivation. It had been more than 10,000 years since he last saw him, and his cultivation had slowly risen to the level of the God Emperor. This is not enough to make people live. She worked hard to become the God Emperor. Don't you recognize your husband? Mujukan poked Yuan on the forehead. After so long, has your wife become stupid? Mujukan smiled and hugged Yuan, who was still in a dazed state. Yuan rubbed his chest and said, I don't know you anymore. It's been a while since I last saw you. I can't match your level of cultivation. Mujukan couldn't laugh or cry. It turned out to be because of this stupid wife. With his strong strength, couldn't he protect her better? From the moment they fell in love, he always wanted to be strong so that he could protect her, but now it's good that he actually scared her. Mujukan picked up Yuan and ducked into the demon suppression tower. A year later, the two appeared in Tiandao sect. In the palace of Minqi, there are Mr. and Mrs. Tianyan, Mingao, Tianya, and his daughter, Mingzin, Mr. and Mrs. Mingxiao, and Mr. and Mrs. Yuan. Mingqi looked at his children and grandchildren below, then looked at Mingxiao and said, Xiao, do you really want to do this to resolve the grudge between your brothers? Mingqi felt a headache. He thought that the grudge between the two sons had been wiped out. Unexpectedly, the eldest son never let go and must settle things with the second son. Mingxiao nodded firmly, yes, father, my son must end things with Mingao. Now that his strength has been fully restored, he can seek revenge from Mingao. Mingao has done countless evil things to his family. If he doesn't avenge himself and his family, is he still worthy of being a husband, father, and grandfather? Mingxiao looked directly at Mingao. Mingao looked back at Mingxiao and his wife with disdain, as well as Tianya and the others behind him. He said calmly, brother wants to seek revenge from me, of course I accept it, but we have to fight to the death, the kind that will turn into ashes. Can you accept it? It's not that he looks down on Ming Xiao. How can a person who is not ruthless enough and cares too much defeat him? Looking annoying. As soon as Ming Ao said these words, everyone on the scene was really shocked. Everyone looked at Ming Xiao. Tianyan and Yuan were both worried. They knew that Ming Ao was a ruthless person and would definitely kill him. Tianya and Ming Xin, especially Xiaoyan, looked at Yuan's family and gloated over their misfortune, as if Ming Xiao had been killed by Ming Ao. Ming Qi, on the other hand, was furious. He slapped Ming Ao on the face and cursed, "You are worse than a beast. You are the kind of person who can be wiped out in ashes. I will make you turn into ashes now. Dad, since the second brother insists, my son will have a fight with him." Ming Xiao immediately stepped forward to stop Ming Qi. Ming Kaibai glanced at this heartless son. Didn't he know Ming Ao's temperament? He could still beat him in a life and death fight with him. "Yes, Grandpa, you can't gamble with your life, he's not worth it." Yuan and Mujukan stepped forward to persuade him. "What, are you scared?" Ming Ao raised his head and asked provocatively. "How is it possible? Let me take charge of this battle." Mujukan took a step forward and walked towards Ming Ao. No, Ming Xiao went to visit Jukan. Mujukan waved his hand. "Grandpa, it's okay. I just want to seek justice for you. Wanner has been harmed by him several times, as well as his father-in-law and mother-in-law. Let me end it with him today." "This. Grandpa, let him go, trust him." Yuan also advised Ming Xiao that she still believed in Mujukan's strength. It was impossible for Ming Ao to kill him to get an advantage from him. Tianyan, who had been silent all this time, pulled Mujukan aside and asked him in a deep voice, "Are you sure? Don't bet with him. It's not worth betting with him. He is Ming Ao's disciple. Although he has no relationship with him as a disciple, he cannot do anything with him. Otherwise he got on." Mujukan patted Tianyan on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, father-in-law. It's not that easy for him to kill me. He and I are space divine formation masters, so we are the most suitable. If one of you cannot get it from him, it's cheap and it's very likely to fall into his hands, so I'm the most suitable." Tianyan thought about it, sighed and nodded. "Then you have to be careful." "Well, I can do it. I won't die no matter what. I have the demon suppression tower." Mujukan said this through sound transmission. He also patted his head. The demon suppression tower was right in front of him. Inside the sea. Tianyan reluctantly breathed a sigh of relief when he heard about the demon suppression tower. The two men came over again. Mujukan thought about it and walked up to Minky and whispered to him in a low voice. After Ming Qi heard Mujukan's words, he felt relieved. He did not want to see his two sons fighting to the death. But the eldest son was determined to avenge his family, and there was nothing he could do to stop him. But Mujukan said that he would not die no matter what the situation was. If Ming was defeated, he would spare Ming Ao's life. Ming Ao, on the other hand, watched Mujukan duel with him, and he did not dare to underestimate Mujukan. He knew to some extent that this boy was a ruthless character, and it was much harder to deal with him than Ming Xiao. Like him, he is a cunning fellow. But he is not afraid of this kid. How can he, a veteran God Emperor Dzogchen, not be able to beat the newly promoted God Emperor Dzogchen? I wonder if he is still a space divine formation master? If you want to control him or destroy him, don't even think about it. He glanced at Ming Xiao and said, "If your nephew and son-in-law die, don't come to me to trouble you again. If you don't accept the battle today, you can come to me." Ming Xiao stared at him fiercely. "Don't be so arrogant. How can you walk by the river without getting your shoes wet? I hope you can still be alive after today." End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 867. Chapter 867 Finale 2. Humph, Ming Ao snorted coldly, then looked at Mujukan and said, "Boy, who asked you to get on the pole and seek death? I will help you today." Mujukan said nothing and made a gesture of invitation to him. The two men immediately escaped from the palace and flew into the air. After setting up a barrier, the two men started fighting like lightning. Everyone in the house flew out to watch them fight. Suddenly Yu was grabbed by someone, and she saw it was Xiaoyan. Yuan glared at her. "What? You want to fight me, but you are a god king and can you beat me? I advise you to save your energy and collect your father's body later." Humph. Don't be too happy too early. I'm just kindly telling you, if your man dies later, don't cry. And remember, I have been imprisoned for so long, and I will deal with you later. Xiaoyan said proudly, raising her chin. Yuan rolled her eyes at her. I don't know where this idiot girl got her confidence. This battle has just begun. Who is so confident? I don't know who will cry. You'd better not ask me for it. Then Yuan shook her off and flew into the air, watching the two people fight. Xiaoyan watched Yuan fly away with resentment, and she stomped her feet and flew to Tianya unwillingly. Before coming here, she had begged Ming Ao to ask Yuan to avenge her today. He had imprisoned her for so many years, and just thinking about it made her angry. Moreover, I just saw Mujukan's human appearance, and even wanted to kill Yuan and Mujukan away. Yuan didn't know what Xiaoyan was thinking. If he knew, he would just leave her alone. Haha, a family of bandits would rob whatever they like. They really deserve to be Ming Ao's grandson. At this time, the two people in the barrier were fighting inextricably, and the people outside were dazzled. Judging from the current situation, the two were indistinguishable. But as time passed, Ming Ao showed signs of defeat. Tianya, Mingxin, and Xiaoyan were panicking. How could this happen? How could they lose? Tianya glanced at Yuan from time to time, his eyes seemed to be quenched with poison. Yuan sensed this and glared at him fiercely. This old guy still dared to look at her like this. Did he not want to die? If there weren't so many people here, she would definitely send him to stay in prison. Suddenly, the two people fighting in the air disappeared into the barrier. "Waner, look at Jukan." Yaoji was startled and hurriedly said to Yuan. Yuan comforted Yaoji, "Mom, you don't have to worry. Mujukan will be fine. The two of them should have used space magic to get somewhere else. It is impossible for Mujukan to have anything happen to him while he is carrying the demon-suppressing tower." Not only Yaoji was nervous, but everyone else was nervously looking at the empty barrier. One of the two must have been defeated and ran away first, and then the other chased him out. I just don't know which one it is. Tianya looked at the sky. He could not have imagined that Mujukan was also a space divine formation master. Otherwise, how could he go to duel with his father? Tianya, who originally thought that Ming Ao would win, became uneasy. In this way, his father's hope of winning would be reduced by half. Tianya couldn't help but worry about Ming Ao. I have to say that although Tianya people are a bit of a bastard, they are still quite worried about his father. He knew that Ming Ao could protect him only if he was alive. If he died, they would have no place in Tianxia realm, and these few people in front of him would not be able to make it easy for him. Don't talk about other people. Thinking about it, a shiver ran down Tianya's spine. He looked back at Mingxin and Xiaoyan, who were expressionless, and then at Yuan and Chuling. He had a headache. Why was his daughter so different from other people's daughters? It is wishful thinking to expect her. Just when everyone was uneasy, Mujukan came back with Ming Ao. Mujukan waved to everyone, and everyone returned to Minky's palace. When they arrived at the palace, Mujukan threw Ming Ao to the ground. Ming Ao was thrown to the ground motionless and had obviously fainted. Ming Qi looked at Ming Ao with his spiritual consciousness and found that he was only injured and his life was not in danger. He said to Mujukan, "Jukan, Thank you for saving his life. You can go back first. I'll take care of it here. Although Ming Ao's life was not in danger, his soul was injured by Mujukan, and he had to heal him. After everyone heard this, except for Tianya Mingzin and Xiaoyan who stayed behind, Ming Xiao took his family back to Tianyan's palace. After everyone stepped forward to see if Mujukan was okay, everyone sat down and asked Mujukan what Ming Ao's situation was now. Mujukan smiled and said, "Don't worry, he won't be a monster again. Even after he wakes up, he will be a waste." It turns out that after Mujukan and Ming Ao came out of the barrier, both of them had reached the great perfection of the God Emperor. They tore apart the space and came to the starry sky. Mujukan was too lazy to waste time with him, so he directly took Ming Ao into the demon suppression tower, took out his soul, destroyed half of his soul, put a ban on the other half of his soul, and sent it back to his sea of consciousness. Then he left the demon suppression tower and came back with him in his arms. Since Ming Ao said it was a life and death duel, Mujukan also promised to spare his life, but he couldn't give him any mercy. At least he would not come out to harm his family again. Wouldn't he do this just to save his life? Ming Xiao felt relieved after hearing this. He said, "Jukan has done a good job. I think I want to kill him to avoid future troubles. I am afraid that he, your true grandfather." Ming Xiao understood that his father did not want their brothers to kill each other, but what Ming Ao did made him feel relieved, but he couldn't do it. This ending is the best. This is a good ending, we can sit back and relax in the future, Yao Ji also said. It's not that they are afraid of Ming Ao, but you never know what that crazy guy will do. Everyone nodded and felt a lot more comfortable. Ming Ao was finally taken care of, and the remaining few people were not a worry. After everyone celebrated, Yuan and Mujukan said goodbye to everyone. They returned to Tongxian realm and found Liang Bao, Yu Heiran, and the others. Yuan asked them what they meant, whether they would return to the Wushu realm or live in the Tongxian realm, or follow them to travel around the stars. Yu Heiran and the others all expressed their intention to settle down and establish a family here in Tongxian realm. Yuan also agreed after hearing this, and she also left some resources for them. Now that we have settled down, we can build our own cultivation family. In the future, there will only be more and more people, and the strength will become stronger, so we have to consider the future. It is necessary to establish a family, at least to have a place to stay, and the future grandchildren will also have a supporter. Yuan and Mujukan left after the two helped build a family. The two treasures stayed in Tongxian realm, but Mujukan released the contract of the demon suppression tower and gave it to Dabao. The couple traveled among the stars in a carefree and unrestrained way, living the life they had imagined before. End of this chapter.